What's up, my support fibro friends? Hello, hello. How is everybody doing after the Fibromyalgia Community Conference? I can't believe I am doing a live stream so close to that. I probably need to take a break from the computer system for a short time, which I will. I have a lot to do and some laundry to do today. But hello to everybody out there. Thank you so much for those of you that attended the Fibromyalgia Community Conference, participated in the Fibromyalgia Community Conference, registered for the Fibromyalgia Community Conference, and then helped promote the conference as well. Super grateful. The Support Fibromyalgia Network and everybody and all our friends are super grateful to all of you out there for joining us for 2 days straight, nonstop. And I was laughing at one of the graphics because it said 7 hours. Did we really stream for 7 hours straight at one point with nonstop content? Yeah, we really pushed it for our fibromyalgia community members out there. And I am so grateful to everyone who participated. And there were some advocates that really stayed with us for 13 hours straight in there, answering comments, helping with the sessions. I appreciate all of you. I have to figure out how to send virtual gifts to people so you can enjoy maybe something to help you relax a little bit and recover. We really pushed technology, which is something I wanted to jump on here and address as well as someone who loves our tech, and we pushed it, and sometimes technology pushes back. I have to remember too that technology wasn't built for people, or some of these technology platforms aren't built for people with disabilities first and with chronic illness conditions. And this is the challenge that we're faced. I was excited in some sense that these platforms were getting better virtually. And I do hope that these tech companies continue to improve on their technology services, because people living with disabilities, people living with chronic illness conditions need these technology advancements in order for us to connect internationally around the world and participate with community members. It's important, and accessibility is important, and we need to be inclusive when we think about technology. But I'm continuously reminded as we push here in Support Fibro on technology, and people on the team know that I love my technology and I want to push it. I want to push it to the limits to create diverse conversations, to create open-minded conversations, and then inclusive conversations. This was the challenge. This has always been the challenge as a network here. And I think I'm going to have to search for a board member that can be added with technology skills that I can have this conversation with, because I want to advance it. I want to make sure everybody feels included in the fibromyalgia community as much as possible. And I think we can use technology for good in order to do this. And we got glimpses of this at the conference. Our international friends, I am so glad we were able to have Carrie live with us from Taiwan at the time that she did. Thank you so much. You mean the world to our organization, Carrie. So I'm so glad you were able to join us. And then our friends in Canada, Portugal, we had people from Brazil, all around the world tuning in to the conference internationally. We had a panel with our India advocates. I need to have a separate conversation with you again. We need to bring you back on social media to have more of an extended conversation. It relates so much to me culturally that I definitely want to continue to have this, continue to do interviews. I know it was a good start where people could see some of the vision of what's possible and what's possible using technology like this to really create a community and move us. Because sometimes, I mean, lately, sometimes technology again gets a bad rap sometimes with all this stuff that we hear. But I love using technology for good, again, and helping us get connected together. And I was so happy to see these panels where all our patient community leaders were on stage together, connecting with each other. Some had never met before. This was the first time they kind of interact on social media platforms, but it's a little different. Now you get to be on panels together and have discussions together, and that was awesome. And then our healthcare providers, our researchers, reminding us that there is content out there that we can lean into and learn from. and also how we can consistently put information out there. So if you've noticed, there's inconsistent information, and that's something too that we wanted to make sure to update everyone on the patient education for fibromyalgia, because even on the basics, like diagnostic criteria is different. And how do we catch people up internationally, make sure across the board we're using the same diagnostic criteria, and you can hear the differences around the country of what's going on. And I really feel for that, because as we were talking to any youth around the country and internationally, if it's inconsistent, like is everybody getting the care that they really need when it comes to this? And that was what the hope and the vision, again, inclusivity, making sure no matter where you lived, if you're living in a remote part of the country, you're living in remote areas of the world, we wanted to be able to tap in as much as we could to use technology to get you the patient education, bring it to you in your living room so you don't have to move around, and let's get you updated information, and also make you realize that you're not alone. So many community members get you access to some of these bloggers that have lived experience, get you access to people in your own community there that maybe you didn't know were there, or resources in your own community that you didn't realize were there. So these were a lot of the goals with building on a community and using technology to help us connect the community together and really make sure we're inclusive, because I think there's been a lot of barriers in the fibromyalgia community, and it's felt very exclusive at points. Like, you have to either have enough money to travel somewhere, you have to physically feel a lot better to travel somewhere, or even just have access to things, and it's very confusing, or you're not allowed to join these programs. And I've felt that personally in some of these other programs, and that's why we wanted to change things and really change things when it came to the Support Fibromyalgia Network and what we were building, like how. And these are stuff that I have on my brain. And I know I talked to Brandy about it for a while, and these concepts, like how can we really create an inclusive community where people are getting this research and getting the updated information and education from all these healthcare providers too, consistently, no matter where you live. And I know people talk about too with in-person events. I know people are excited to get back to in-person events, but the challenge of it, I've done in-person events for different occasions in the music industry, production wise, for the craft beer and food industry. We did a lot of in-person events. I was working with people and organizers behind the scenes to do that. So I know what the challenges are, and I've been to in-person events, and I was always paying attention, because in-person events, it's very regional. I mean, sometimes if you have the capacity to drive, or financial means to drive to places or fly to places, you can attend these events. But then you also have to look at the venues. The venues sometimes aren't as accessible as you need them to be. I have no idea why some venues put mobile ramps or accessibility behind the buildings. It makes no sense to me, where we need them more in front. So, and half the time they don't work. So these are the challenges that we face, and I've faced those in venues and trying to make it to conferences where the elevator doesn't work, so you're going to be forced to take the stairs. So a lot of those things come to my mind where I'm like, okay, this virtual space, I love it. What does it look like? It's not a perfect system yet at all. I wish one day I'm going to push, we'll push the system and it'll have more accessibility. It'll function better on internet services. You won't need to just have one browser system. Mike and I have been doing some retrospective on that, because we're like, why does this? And we're talking about maybe a cache issue in some of the web browser systems. So I think we need to, I definitely, we're going to dive into and meet some of our tech friends. If you're out there too, I want to talk technology and production with us, or you have a friend in your life that has that background, please have them connect with us, because we really want to troubleshoot this and make this happen. Apparently, we are already scheduled for a fibromyalgia concert, and apparently we'll be planning the second annual Fibromyalgia Community Conference that came out at the first annual. I wasn't sure what to expect, and Again, sometimes I am a perfectionist, type A personality, so I may be ruminating on the imperfections, especially when technology pushes back and drops out on us, and I like get frustrated. So I know my team is like, please don't focus and ruminate on those, but it's hard not to when you're creating solutions. And then again, I'm reminded of the fact that we're not there yet. Accessibility is not there yet. Even when we tested it with captions. I did ask Hopin if they had a dark mode. The dark mode was not available because sometimes, with white backgrounds, it's different. So I know I use dark modes when I browse social media and other platforms as well. So those things are not there yet with technology systems. But I know there's a group of us that are pushing for more accessibility in technology, and we're going to continue because and especially for chronic illness communities, like I said, understanding what it feels like to be in chronic pain and using technology apps, brain fog, having those systems set up with different ways and reminders that make sense because it's tricky when you're given a lot of directions and you can't access something and it's confusing. So these are improvements that definitely I'm thinking about and maneuvering, and we're going to figure it out. We have other events planned, and that's why we use technology like this to stream online. So it's again, we're going to continue. So I hope it gave you a glimpse of what's possible and what the community really looks like. And I was excited for all our members to see the diversity on the panel, the inclusivity, different conversations about functional medicine, what that looked like on the main stage, just all the content that we produced in different spaces, and bringing the community together. Because I noticed the area of networking. When I saw the metrics, a lot of you were using the networking platform, which gave me a whole new idea and it sparked other things. So I'm glad you were able to use the networking space. And it reminds me that you are connecting with each other. And that's what matters in different spaces. And we're going to have another special announcement regarding technology in a community. So I'm going to bring Brandy in for that announcement before we move forward. But I'm glad to see the community coming together internationally. And to our international friends, that's what we want to do. We want to have more international conversations together to produce more consistent information across the board for patients, making sure patients can figure out how to get faster diagnostic criteria no matter where you are in the world. See if there's testing, see if we can push research together internationally, because we heard from some of our researchers too of how they're working internationally. So as patients, let's see if we can push that better, because there's different international research institutes, and so maybe they just need a little bit of nudge from the patient community and medical community. Let's bring our medical doctors together. That's the reason why we really are wanting to launch Echo. And I wanted to remind people too, when it comes to Echo, we can use it for research platforms and research discussions. We can use it for medical education, but it's not just about the United States. It's an internationally scaled virtual version. So keep that in mind. And again, we're going to grow virtually. I love pushing the virtual system, even for advocacy training. I am thinking of ways to include our international friends on a whole new advocacy front. I know for us in the United States, we are going to have to figure out a hybrid way to include people for Capitol Hill. So that's coming down the pipeline too. But again, you're going to hear me talk a lot about technology and pushing technology to the limits. And that's what was our first attempt here, really going gung ho to see what we can do, because we do have interviews consistently with people through this platform to stream through social media, one-offs, like one interview at a time. That seems to, we can get into a flow of that, but this was 2 days packed of information. So I'm just glad that I saw what I saw, and a full team reminding me of how much they enjoyed it, and to not ruminate too much on some of the pushback that tech gave me. But we're going to come out and do more technology here, and I'm seeing some people in the chat, which I'll actually get to the questions shortly. I'm so glad you were able. I will get some rest. I am headed. I have to get on a plane on Wednesday, for ACR. So we're going to have some more information there. I know we're going to tune in to a broadcast we had with More Than Lupus and Looms for Lupus about ACR, and we're going to have Lupus Spoons with us live at the booth as well. So we'll have information streaming. We're going to have a blast at ACR with being in person. So after ACR, I promise, and I need to get my glasses fixed. If you can see the tape, it fell apart as I was coming home. I had to fly home to San Diego from my trip to Philadelphia, and the piece just fell apart just as I got to the hotel. Thankfully, it waited, but I know it was loose, so I was tying it up with a hairband at the airport. I looked so goofy that day, but it was okay. I knew I had to just get home. And I know I need to even fix my glasses, so I promise everyone I will take a break. I've learned what my body is capable of, and through the tools that I've gained and some of the tools that I revealed at the conference, this is what keeps me going. So just to give a little tidbit of that is like when I traveled for the Social Health Awards, I really avoided any of the sugars, alcohols. So I don't do any of that. I keep consistent with my protocols of nutrition and what I need in order to keep me going, because I know what crashes me out with carbs and those things. My brain will just lose it with dysfunction. So I have tools, but yes, I do need to get my glasses fixed, and I do need to take a break in nature away from computers for a while. I think I was even starting with my vision, staring at a computer for so long, for 2 days straight. I can see it too with some of the vision and some of the headaches that were coming up. I was like, ooh, I have been at the computer for too long. Thank you so much. It's a team effort and a community effort. So it's about all of us, okay? That's the big reminder, all of us coming together and reminding people too that you have a voice to share, you have a lot to give. If you're out there, and I said this before, these barriers really hurt us. This exclusive hoarding information can really hurt a community. And there's no reason to hoard that information or try to control it. And this is one of our goals here. So if we can lift up community leaders around the country, around the world, and remind them, you got this, someone has your back, let's do this, let's help you. If you need help with technology, I'm going to be there to help you record it. I'm going to be there to give you a platform for your voice so that you can help other people in your community. You can help other people in this fibromyalgia community, and that's the benefit. There's no reason to control or create these barriers, and we really want to consistently take that down. And I've been exposed to those barriers or been the underdog. It's just like excluded. And that's not what we need with fibromyalgia. We need to work with each other to do as much as we can. There's so many people living with fibromyalgia, and even we're learning the cross conditions, the autoimmune conditions, rheumatic conditions that people have with being also diagnosed with fibromyalgia. We got to work together, cross collaboration, international collaboration. That's what it's all about. One person and one organization isn't going to do it all. We recognize that. If we have to ignite these conversations, even in some sort of clunky way, we'll do it. And I hope that everybody got to see some of the vision of that a little bit better and understand a little bit more of who we are in that inclusive aspect, and having these conversations with each other, especially, like I said, I'm going to drill this in with our international friends as much as I can, because sometimes it's weird, right? Other organizations don't understand maybe fully what you're thinking. Is there an ulterior motive? I'm going to get that. And you have to build trust. So I understand that we need to build trust with each other first. And I totally get it. So I hope you've seen a glimpse of what's going on, and a glimpse of who we are here in the United States and what we're trying to build, and being a national organization here, changing the landscape of working with each other. Because we really do. We need to support each other. There's so many people around the world that need this. So let me go back to the comments. Robin, we missed you. Okay, so replay information. There is unedited replay. If you registered for the conference, and I know it was tough accessing it at some points for certain people, and I think there was browser issues. It's recommended to use Hopin on Chrome and Firefox. There is a mobile app, which I was noticing seemed better to watch things, but I know it's small, and it may not be as consistent. So the replays are in there, unedited, published replays from the main stage, and I'm working on the community sessions to publish any content we can. It's already available in Hopin. So if you registered, you can go in there, log in there, you can start watching the replays. Replays are available for 6 months. But we definitely are going to take the content, we're going to edit it up so that way the presentations will be available on social media. Because of some of the tech issues we had, we want to make it more available sooner. So as soon as we get a chance to kind of edit it down and download it from Hopin, we have large files. As I said, 7 hours straight of broadcasting. I think the second day we stopped the broadcasts after each panelist or tried to, which made it easier and it'll make it easier to edit. But I realized that as we went for 7 hours straight, if we try to upload that or try to edit it down, it's going to take a little bit of time to edit that down. And then we want to just make sure we take out some of the glitches and then give you the presentations directly. So we'll figure that out. In my mind, I thought about maybe a Fibromyalgia Community Conference Part 2, but on social media, we would drip out the content. Let me talk to the healthcare providers for some creative ideas, and then also maybe do better at doing the giveaways. I know Carrie offered some giveaways to people, so let's come back to it. I'm going to reach out to some of our speakers and see if we can definitely add the content to social media and how we can do it in a better, fun way so that everybody can watch, you can share the content and what's available. So that is coming down the pipeline. But for those of you that are registered, you can log into Hopin right now and watch all the replay content because it was long days. We really stuffed a lot of content in there. I wasn't sure we should do that strategy, but there were so many great people, and we were fortunate enough that they said yes. So I was going to roll with it. And there were people that, they got back to us a little bit late. And I was like, ooh, I don't think I could stuff that in. I tried. I really tried. But again, I'm offering people, if you missed out on being a speaker or you have information that you want to share, we can do this. We can do talks. I'm streaming right now to multiple platforms. So this is always available. We've had interviews recently with other healthcare providers, and we've shared that content with you. So it doesn't have to stop. If you missed speaking at the conference, that doesn't mean that you will miss speaking to an audience, a wonderful fibromyalgia community audience. We definitely continue this. So again, the replays are available. We will be able to add this to social media shortly. We'll figure this out. I think we may have to wait till I get back from ACR. We downloaded all the content. And again, I was looking at it. These are massive files, massive video files. And Mike rolled his eyes at me. I know he's and we may have to recruit Danielle over here to help Mike and I edit some of these files done. But it's just like even getting you access, Danielle, to like how do we upload it somewhere where I can share it. So we're trying to figure that out because there's the really large files, and it's hours, 7 hours straight of content we have to edit, but we'll get it done for you. I promise everyone you'll be able to see it. But if you are registered, you can watch the replay. And in the app, I noticed there's a grid at the bottom of 6 buttons. And if you click on that, that's where the replay area shows up. And if you have any questions about this, please email friends@supportfibro.org, and I'll send you some screenshots because I was like looking at everything after the conference and troubleshooting because again, my brain ruminates on why things don't work. So I was looking at some of that and some of the inconsistencies with the audio in the session rooms. So I was troubleshooting and learning from it. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense now of what was happening. So we're going to edit some of that out too. Danielle, you have ideas. Okay, perfect. Because I can't believe I had us live streaming for 7 hours straight. Next time, everybody, please tell me that we need to stop the broadcast and take a break. My nervous system and my fight or flight just keeps going. So I know like Brandy can put the kibosh, be like, take a break. You need to stop the broadcast. So I need people to say this to me next time so we're not sitting there for 7 hours straight doing a broadcast. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, we really I'm so stoked that we were able to put the community together in this fashion, and we got really good feedback. Shout out to the creativity panel that kicked us off with Nikki helping us get creative. First thing, Nikki, just to let you know, a lot of our feedback said we reminded them of like a Today Show segment, like Good Morning America, where we jumped in and we had a creative session with our guest, and they showed us. So props to everybody that joined us in the morning for that segment, and Nikki for sharing all her creativity from Heart, Faith, and Strength. Her family is amazing over there. Her husband really cheered on the caregivers. They gave us a video talking about the caregivers as well that we used in our segments as a commercial. But I love that feedback. So I'm glad we were able to look like Good Morning America or Early Morning Today show for you, bringing in all the smiles and the joy of our community, because I know it's hard. I don't want people to forget with all the smiles and the hope that we're trying to push in. We were talking about Care Bear stairs with Carrie too. If anyone grew up or with Care Bears, you know that the Care Bears come together and they do their Care Bear stare when they need to join and change the world together. So that's what I guess that's the goal. So we're gonna continue with the Care Bear stairs and join that together. But yeah, I know that it's difficult. There's a lot of pain in our fibromyalgia community. But again, we definitely shine for fibro, as Brandy came up with that campaign. We're shining a light for fibromyalgia community consistently. So we're going to keep it up. And I want to acknowledge some of these comments that are coming in. Thank you again. Yeah, this is so I know we couldn't reach everyone yet. It's hard to market in these systems and get people registered, and then the capacity. So some of the things that people I want to share with people as a nonprofit organization, sometimes we get discounts on technology. It's not enough. The affordability of using some of these technology platforms, it costs a lot of money to upgrade. And so Hopin had a limit on attendance, just like Zoom does. You're limited. So we sold out, which is awesome. I did not think that we would sell out. I thought maybe we get a certain percentage because of the struggle we've had with marketing other Zoom webinars before on these social media platforms. There isn't really a great ROI conversion. This time we did it, so everybody brought it. I can't thank you enough, all the people that promoted. But we were capped at attendance, which is difficult because of our tier. But Hopin was an affordable solution for us at this level, because if you look at some of this stuff, and I really dug into different platforms, I talked to a whole many, like VFairs, Wova. At the time, Zoom Events was building something new. I talked to all these companies. I had so many emails. I had so many meetings with different companies asking them about accessibility, who was going to be there for us if we needed extra support, who had the best mobile app experience, what we were allowed to do when it came to community connections, and then, of course, the pricing. There's some platforms out there, like if you attend bigger events, and I'm always looking at what platforms they use. So I click on the bottom, I set up a consultation with the company because they're usually gated. You have to talk to someone to get the real price, the base price. And I was looking recently at one company because I was like, wow, this is phenomenal for their live stream. And then the starting price when you go to the website before you can even go in a call, and I appreciate this, the starting price was $25,000. So it's like, oh, it's so, I mean, like, I don't know. how to get through this. And again, when we're talking about technology and pushing technology and what we need, our community needs to be able to connect like this. So, what are the best ways to do it? And even through like spaces like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, we're noticing TikTok, but even like there's limitations for everything. There's limitations for broadcasting. Some people aren't able to get into Facebook because they've gone away from it, or you have to log in. There's no perfect system, so trying to figure that out and pushing technology. But I did a lot of research on the platforms, and we landed into Hopin. So again, it's trying to figure out what works best. I was toying with some others, and again, that limitation of cost as well. There's certain platforms they charge you again per attendance, you're limited, or services, so they give you the base model and then you have to add on extra features, which starts to rack up, because I think one platform, if we wanted to have any booths, was $100 per booth. So I'm like, okay, do I charge people for that if we want to add it? Do we offer it for free? So these were the things that were in my mind and on the team's mind when we were going through this. And I remember having conversation with Brandy, and I was just like vomiting out information. It's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, we just have to like figure out and pick something. It's not going to be perfect. So again, with that, replays are available right now with Hopin. We are going to figure out how to get this content up and running. Thank you, Jan. I'm so glad you were able to join and you loved the content. Yeah, I'm glad too that you said you knew a lot, so that's awesome, but you still learned more. Okay. That that really makes me happy too. Because I know with giving information and different information and how we can bring that to the table. That was really another goal to piece together. And there was so much. There's so much to talk about, and there's so many people to invite. So this was a proof of concept for other speakers out there, other people I emailed that, you didn't get back to me or maybe weren't sure. I did get told that by a few people, and even in our chronic illness community, it was kind of a waste of time to have something with fibromyalgia. And again, this whole idea of what fibromyalgia is. And I'm like, dude, we have 10 million people. And then our international, we have such inconsistent numbers about how many people live with fibromyalgia, but there's a lot of us. So we have a lot of people living with fibromyalgia. Everybody can use the information, even if we know, and even if you gained one extra thing, or you got to connect with someone in your community that you had never met before or didn't realize that this service was available. We learned a lot from Dr. Tracy and her work too with myo stretching. So again, this myofascial release keeps coming up. All of our speakers. So everybody, thank you so much. Our wonderful speakers there. Danielle, I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Um, with all of this and everybody, even like Maudie, I didn't expect her to be doing 13 hours straight. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Those of you that jumped in. And again, please, Connie, we'll get you the information. I promise you. It was tough because I think some people realized at the tail end. I know some people sent out newsletters at the very last minute. So we had sold out on Wednesday morning. So I reached out to Hopin to see if we can extend it, give us a few, and they generously did. But then another email newsletter was sent out close to them. We only had like maybe 100 spots left, and those got taken so fast. So again, with that attendance cap, it's tough. And these were choosing plans where it's unlimited. Like, do we just stream on Facebook where it can be unlimited views, unlimited people chiming in, but not everybody has Facebook? Do we figure out a way to stream on the website, but then we have to make sure our website can handle it, because that's where websites crash out. I've done this before in production with other people, and even with people that had huge budgets working with A-list rock stars before, it's always a challenge. We're always challenged. And then again, making it accessible for disabilities, we got to work on our technology to make things more accessible, having those captions regularly in there as well. Thank you again. I love seeing these comments. It was encouraging to hear from others and gain more knowledge. Yay, that makes me happy. Thank you so much, Claire. I'm really glad that, yes, when we're having these conversations about the immune system, I will have more information from ACR I'm gonna definitely connect with the researchers. There's some great presentations at ACR gonna be talking about the connection of fibromyalgia with autoimmune conditions. So I definitely want to connect with those researchers more and the medical providers in this field because we on fibromyalgia, we cannot let them ignore us. We need to get more stakeholders involved. And I think that was also brought up too, that to know that we need more research, we need more monetary investment, and there's different ways to do this, like philanthropic ways, NIH ways. So I think I'm glad that the healthcare providers also and the researchers learned from us that the patient community is craving this information and is craving solutions. Like we're here, we're active. So I really glad that that message came across. We do care. We care that fibromyalgia gets the service that they need, and we need the investment. And we need the investment in other areas. There is a lot of consistent investment in certain areas and protocols, but we need to consistently advance that, whether it's biomarker treatment, scans of the brain. Yes, we all rallied around these brain scans. We would donate our brain to just scan it if it helps for research, push it forward. I love that Dr. Lipton mentioned blood test markers for inflammation. And there's a variety of blood test markers too that haven't been researched, even collectively. So we might be missing something here because I don't know what people thought. Did they think that fibromyalgia fell asleep and just didn't care? But I knew watching everybody on social media that the fibromyalgia community really cares and really wants somebody and other people to come together to do the research. We need the research. We need medical providers trained to understand. We need to decrease the time for diagnosis. We don't want to be dismissed. We are getting louder. And I'm so glad that people are hearing us that we need this. So I'm glad to bring that here and know that we can. We want our brain scanned if possible. We will allow for blood draws for research. And I think having it more widespread, so maybe we don't have to drive to one research center at the east coast of the country or the middle of the country or my west coast. It seems like they're scattered, but how can we make it come to you? Are there ways to do that? And I do think technology is going to advance and these solutions are coming up, especially in the lab. So here at our organization, we're definitely going to continue to push that and work with people that want to push that further so that way everybody can contribute. Because I know it's tough with research. Even I was trying to do research happening in Orange County, but just driving there, um, 2 hours in traffic, like you would do it, but how consistently do they want you to go in, what you need to do, what you need to stop for supplements and stuff like that? It's complicated. So yeah, I mean, it's Ohio. I'm just like, we need to bring people together, make it closer. How do we do this? How do we work with institutions like the Mayo Clinic a little bit better? Other institutions doing research. I really want to tap into some of the brain institutes I'm seeing because they're getting more funding. Although this is why we're working to get a proper sort of classification at the public health agencies to open up their mind to looking at more neurological research. Because if we can get access to some of those brain health centers and have our researchers be able to connect with those centers, so say they're at Harvard or at Dr. Jared Younger's lab and be able to tap into those brain health centers that are different, widely spread around the country, we could do a lot more research because people from different parts of the country could hopefully tap into that. Obviously, the driving and trying to get there when some people don't drive anymore is tough. But we need to continue this process and continue to have conversations with each other. So we've started it, like, these conversations are starting to happen. Again, yes, yes, at the conference, we were all chiming in, with, Dr. Marco Loggia talking about this, how and then even with, Dr. Lipton, we're talking about the research, donating ourselves, getting our brain scans, and I even mentioned there's a place here with my connections with Alzheimer's research that I've been doing is that there's a place now you can pay out of pocket to do brain scans. It's built for people living with Alzheimer's for prevention of it. But the fact that if there is enough funding, even to get 20 people to this Los Angeles area, if I can find 20 fibromyalgia people and figure out how to fund each of them getting a brain scan, which it's a couple $100, like can we utilize that? I need an MD though, to help with the project, or at least because I think I was talking to someone on how to set up the research because they need to make sure that you are diagnosed with fibromyalgia. We might need to have the MD make sure that they are officially diagnosed before they come in, which again is inconsistent since now we got to make sure we're doing the updated criteria at ACR. Then have them do the brain scan at that center and see if we can pick anything up. I know it's very small, like it's 20 people, so we may not see anything, but that's the aspect of research and doing large cohort studies, but that's there. You can get those. They have a package to do an MRI scan, like can we see anything at that level at all? But they're looking at the prevention of Alzheimer's in people's brains and inflammation aspects. So I'm curious if we would find anything, and that's my curious mind getting into research aspects. So I was talking to some of the people about that, and I hey, it's possible. We're going to have to push for research ourselves. I know I've had this conversation with Crystal, and we didn't get to share our family research. So we need to do that in our survey as well to share what we do. And we're going to have to push this research for ourselves. We'll figure out how to find the funding either through grants, pushing the NIH to help fund projects, working with our MDs and our researchers on board. And we need the help. As a patient community, we do need our medical providers and our researchers to join us. I'm glad they got a glimpse of what's happening in a little bit of a nervous system fight or flight way. But it's a start. And Dr. Lipton did mention having a conference for researchers to talk about this. And I would love that. I remember going my first time to the Open Medicine Foundation and their research track. And I told Brandy, I was like, and I said, we have to do this for fibromyalgia at some point to showcase the research, having a research conference, but having it available for patients to also attend. And I'm like, Brandy, we got to do this. We got to do this one day. So I'm glad Dr. Lipton mentioned that is something that needs to get done. So I think we're finally starting to come all together on the same page. There's been a lot of separate discussions, but we got to have these discussions together, internationally, have these discussions together because each of the groups on an international level seems to also be teaming up with medical providers and researchers. So let's, as patients, bring them together and be like, hey, I want you to talk to my friends in the United States. I want you to talk to my friends in Canada. They have their organization set up. Let's do this. Let's have a whole research conference. Let's have a whole medical education conference, patient education. We're bringing it together. So I think this is what we're working on. So if anyone is jiving with this and your brain is starting to go and I want you to reach out to me because I know we're trying to solve problems on a much bigger level. And how do we do this? Can we do it faster? I really want to get this done quickly. I mean, I've been diagnosed in 14. I'm now 42. That's a long time to wait. And I know a lot of you have been waiting. So why is it so hard to find a rheumatologist? Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing with the shifts now. So first of all, rheumatologists, um, we don't have enough rheumatologists in this country to service as many patients as they need, first of all. So a lot of even rheumatologists, and we heard this from Dr. Pinkston as well, they're servicing people with very complex chronic conditions because there's not enough rheumatologists even to service autoimmune and rheumatic conditions. There's not enough people, and we're learning about this too in rural parts of the country, especially for primary care physicians. One primary care physician might end up being servicing 10,000 people or being the only one in their whole community. That's really hard, or even 30,000 people. How do you do that and really give quality service in medical care. So this medical system we're seeing a lot of these gaps. So that's one thing. We don't have enough rheumatologists around the country. And I'm going to learn more and talk about this at ACR. We're headed to the American College of Rheumatology with More Than Lupus, Lupus Spoons, and Looms for Lupus the following week. We'll be there. So these are some of the conversations I want to have with people, but I do want to acknowledge that there are not enough rheumatologists around the country. Pediatric rheumatology too is even lower. So we don't even have enough of the healthcare providers. And if you are fortunate to have a rheumatologist even in your area, what's happening now is rheumatologists can diagnose fibromyalgia, but because of this system that's been created too, they're going to defer to a primary care physician or pain management doctor to help you treat fibromyalgia. But in the history of fibromyalgia, we've never proficiently trained primary care physicians in educating them on fibromyalgia. A lot of the medical education in the history of fibromyalgia has been to rheumatologists. So you would go to these rheumatology conferences and get the education on fibromyalgia if you were in the MD setting. There's a lot happening in naturopathic medicine, chiropractic medicine, acupuncture. They've been doing their own training to connect and educate each other. But on an MD level, like the medical institution type of level, we've always educated rheumatologists to help treat fibromyalgia. And neurologists did not want to get involved. Some neurology, and this is where we're noticing with functional neurology, they're starting to get involved as we connect the dots of what's happening with fibromyalgia. But because it was so heavily looked at as musculoskeletal, but now we're seeing the nervous system involved, the brain connection involved, it got more complex. So we don't really have this medical provider system. And that's why if you go to the American College of Rheumatology, they've updated it that the rheumatologist can help you diagnose fibromyalgia and rule out other autoimmune rheumatic conditions. They'll run the blood test for more extensive blood exam and examinations for those conditions. But if they don't find anything, they're going to defer you back to primary care. And primary care has never been given the medical education that they need to help treat fibromyalgia on a larger scale. So this is a huge gap, and it's happening faster. And unfortunately, it's happening faster. So we're hearing people getting turned away from large rheumatology institutions at the university level. They're getting deferred to primary care. If you are diagnosed with fibromyalgia, they won't even see you. You can't even get an appointment. Now, there are things at Mayo Clinic with their programs and what that helps with. I've heard it's a little bit short, but I have heard good things. So these are the things that are happening. And I definitely, as patients, I understand it's super, super frustrating. It's frustrating for me to see at this level and see how we can connect the dots faster. Again, we're trying to do this faster because I want to acknowledge there's gaps, and I want to acknowledge that there's a lot of patient frustration here. But I do want to share with you the large level of structure. The infrastructure is broken, and it's not the fault of the medical providers. We need to build that. We need to build the bridges and the communication between our medical providers better, because it's not that they don't care. It's just that the medical institution, like the structure, the infrastructure wasn't necessarily built to help treat conditions like fibromyalgia, and even a payer system, which we touched upon a little bit with out-of-pocket costs, getting things covered by insurance. There definitely needs to be work on that area. There definitely needs to be more advocacy on that area to make sure things are covered and make sure we don't have to hassle and haggle with the insurance companies as much. There's ways to move around in the system if you know what to do, but we need to have that information more widespread, because I know it's a headache. We need to do more advocacy with that. We need to do more advocacy with our rheumatologists, with our primary care physicians, and these boards. And I do want to encourage these medical boards to start being more open to having conversations with patient organizations like us, because we're on their side. We know doctors and medical providers got into this profession to help people, but there's been so many barriers to care. And, a lot of a lot of providers retired. They're burnt out. We're burnt out, and now we have to go to telehealth platforms that, again, technology isn't accessible. I may not work consistently. There's a lot of frustration going on, but I want to acknowledge that within our community. That's why we're even hitting barriers when it comes to launching Project Echo. So Project Echo is all virtual medical education training. We want to democratize the knowledge, the fibromyalgia medical knowledge that we have, so that we can start educating medical providers across the country, internationally. If you're a primary care physician, you'll able to tap in virtually. We are struggling to launch this, and I keep talking about this because we do need help. We need help from our medical providers. We need help from our other patient organizations to come join us. You can have a spoke. And this is why I really want to remind people, this is not a thing about controlling. This is about democratizing the knowledge. And I know people want to always make a profit sometimes, like I'm going to have everybody pay for this, but in this sense, we want people and primary care physicians, if you're in a remote part of the country, I want that primary care physician to give them as much medical education as they can for fibromyalgia patients, because I don't want you driving 4 hours across the country, flying across the country to get treatment for fibromyalgia. If we can help these primary care physicians, and then we offer continuing medical education credit for free, you can stay where you're at, get educated on fibromyalgia, up-to-date treatment. And then we're educating the patients at the same time, so you can bring your knowledge to the providers. Providers have some extra knowledge there, and hopefully we can work to create this better system together. It's a challenge. And I know, again, I talked when I entered, we're pushing the system. Gonna push the system as hard as we can. But we've analyzed these flaws on our side. We analyze the gaps very heavily. And I know it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to try to be as patient as possible. I'm not very patient. I've waited a long time to be able to help this community. It's my bucket list. I say this is my passion. I go to sleep thinking about all of you in the fibromyalgia community. I wake up thinking about all of you in the fibromyalgia community. Traveled across the country. I've talked to each one of you. I've talked to a lot of you around the country and even in social media. But I sat down when I went across the country to talk to community leaders, support group leaders, anyone that I could visit on the road. We sat down, had coffee and tea, and I just had you talk to me. Where are the gaps in the fibromyalgia community? How can we best support you? There's some consistent answers coming up. The solutions are going to be tough to implement, but as Brandy said, we talked about this conference, and I was like, how did I get fibromyalgiaconference.com, the URL? I don't remember ever buying it, but I think when I first met Brandy, she's like, you don't remember talking about having a fibromyalgia virtual conference? And I was like, no, I really don't. This may be it's been a couple rough 2 years. And I was like, maybe that's when I bought the URL. I don't know. But so these ideas are here. And please let people know. Please let your fibromyalgia warrior friends know. If anyone out there is losing hope, or your friends, people in your community are losing hope, let them know there are people behind the scenes really working hard. And yes, we are fighting for all of you. We are fighting for a change. I dedicate myself to you guys as much as I possibly can. Yes, I'm going to take a break because I have to keep refueling myself, but this is my passion that I personally wake up for. And I know we're going to get these community leaders that you saw on the stage. I'm nudging them. I want them to do more social media, or if they can, I know it's awkward, or videos. We're going to showcase them more, so that way you know that there's more people in your area, and we're building up this domino effect. And I talk about it, when people fall down in the mosh pit, we pick them up. So fibromyalgia kind of reminded me of that. It's chaotic. You're enjoying the music, but sometimes you're starting to feel fatigue, the body, everything is going on there. So this philosophy of picking up the community leaders, giving them the support they need. I'm glad too. And I'm glad that people really, we got to get this message across. We're definitely fighting behind the scenes on a national level, and I appreciate all of you. And I didn't mean to take a whole hour to thank everyone and have this discussion, but you can see that I'm highly passionate about the inclusivity part. and the education part and creating a lot of change. And I really hope too that our healthcare providers and our researchers walked away from that. I do want to get some more connected with a lot more researchers as well and have these conversations. And I do hope these medical boards, the medical schools really understand what we're trying to do as a patient community. Like, we can give talks and talk to medical providers here and there, but we really want to create systemic changes. And we really need it. And we hope to, across the board, we can work with other chronic illness community members, nonprofits. I do admire so much the work that gets done by the Open Medicine Foundation, ME Action, EDS Society. I'm very inspired by those organizations. Even the EDS Society, I do want to pick your brain on how you've done so well with Echo. You inspire me. And I'm looking around at these other organizations and seeing a roadmap, and especially with technology and my love for technology and how we can bring that to other stakeholders and really share the voices of the fibromyalgia community on a larger platform so that you never feel like you are in this fight alone. I'm gonna definitely stop talking because I probably could talk forever about technology. This is where I nerd out on technology and science. How can we push it further? I'm looking at machine learning and AI, if that is the way to go for faster diagnostic criteria. Anybody out there have connections to that, and anybody that wants to work in the fibromyalgia space on those mechanisms. I've been taking some machine learning classes so that I can understand. I did register for Joanna and anybody else who's in the European network. Thank you to Chronic Eileen for posting it. And I don't know if it was meant for United States or not, but the European rheumatology patient research. So I signed up, I registered for that. I don't know if it's just for the European Union, but um, I registered anyway as a patient researcher or learner. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. We can cross collaborate later. But thank you everyone again for all the speakers, all the community leaders that participated, all of our guests that joined. I loved all your comments. We really rallied together, and I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you. I am going to take a short media break, but I should be back Monday morning. So have a great Sunday, wonderful Sunday, and I will talk to everybody soon. Huge, huge virtual hugs, healing hugs to all of our support fibro friends. I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.